This isn't the real Caesar's Palace, is it?
What do you mean?
Did Caesar live here?
No.
I didn't think so.
I went to Vegas last weekend. Pretty crazy.
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
Gentlemen, welcome to Las Vegas.
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to pay out back? I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
Some guys just can't handle Vegas.
Well, hey, everybody. Long time no chat. It's Jeff here for the Jeff Does Vegas podcast, streaming to you live via YouTube, whether you're watching this live or you are watching this at a later date, not live, I guess, is the correct way of putting that. Hi. It's been a while, long time no chat. My name is Jeff, host of the Jeff Does Vegas podcast, which you can find online at jeffdoesvegas.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Jeff Does Vegas. And of course, the podcast episodes available Apple Podcast, Stitcher, what am I missing? Podbean, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you get podcasts, you'll be able to find my wonderful podcast. It's been a while since I've jumped on the YouTubes and did a quick little update with everybody as far as what's been going on, what's been happening with the show, what's been happening in my life. Just going to put that down. And I need a pen to hold because that's like a nervous twitch thing that I've got going. I don't know why that is. Yeah, here it is. It's Thursday night. It's October the 3rd, 2019. And I really just wanted to take a couple of moments to jump on and talk about some of the stuff that's been going on over the last little while with the show. Kind of a when it rains, it pours situation with interviews that I've been doing here. And stuff I've got coming up. I'm looking at the whiteboard. If you're a regular listener of the show or a regular viewer of these videos, you know that I've talked about being whiteboard committed. I do have a whiteboard that hangs here in the studio that shows everything I've got coming up, episodes that I've recently released, who I'm going to be talking to, episodes that are upcoming, things like that. And this whiteboard is full right now, which is kind of exciting because for the up until like last week, I actually wasn't sure if it was going to be. I've been working on trying to put together a bunch of different episodes, and it's one of those kind of weird things where when it rains, it pours. Everything has kind of all landed right in my lap over the course of a couple of weeks. I got to do something here. This is driving me nuts. I was trying some different earbuds. I can't do it. They sound terrible. That sounds so much better. Oh, man. It's amazing. This goes back to my days as a radio person. They always say you're not supposed to listen to yourself. You're not supposed to, focus on your own voice. But when your own voice sounds like garbage, you're losing your mind. Anyways, so the whiteboard, getting back to the whiteboard and all the things that I have on the whiteboard. Very, very busy little time that I've got coming up here over the next little while. As mentioned, I've got like 6 interviews that have all sort of fallen into my lap here over the course of the next week or so. Some of the topics that I'm going to be working on, getting set, of course, for the release of episode number 38 of the podcast. That's going to be coming out Monday, October the 7th. Vegas weddings. This has been a topic that I've wanted to try to figure out how to do for a while now, and finally managed to kind of get it all put together. I managed to land an interview with a person that I can really only describe as a Las Vegas legend and possibly one of the sweetest human beings that I've ever had the privilege of talking to. Her name is Charlotte Richards, and she is the proprietor, the owner, and the head wedding performer at A Little White Wedding Chapel, which inarguably is one of the most famous wedding chapels, not just in Las Vegas, but in the world. Charlotte is 85 years old, showing absolutely no sign of slowing down anytime soon. Before we started talking on the podcast and recording, I actually asked her, I said, like, hey, like, I've heard this rumor that you're, retiring and maybe selling the chapel. And I mean, by all accounts, from what I've seen, the chapel is up for sale. But Charlotte was like, nope, I'm not going anywhere. I don't know what else to do with myself. I don't know what else I could do. So nope, I'm not going anywhere. So I don't know. She was a spitfire, and she was just one of the sweetest human beings that I've ever had the pleasure of talking to. She almost made me cry a couple of times when we were having a conversation. So yeah, so again, she was absolutely awesome to talk to. As far as other episodes that I've got coming up and other interviews that I've got coming up, I'm going to be chatting with the folks from the Neon Museum coming up here. And if you're a follower on Facebook, you may have noticed, you may have seen, I posted a story on the Facebook page that the Neon Museum is actually going to be closed for the next couple of weeks while they are installing Tim Burton exhibit, which is supposed to be absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be on the next time that I'm in Las Vegas, which is kind of disappointing. But yeah, they've agreed to come on and chat on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to talking to the folks in the Neon Museum. Interview I was supposed to have earlier today that kind of fell through, which was a little disappointing. Was I was supposed to be chatting with a gentleman by the name of Joseph Kruger, who is he's with Las Vegas Ghosts, one of the ghost tours that they do in Las Vegas. We've had to reschedule it, which is cool because it's going to be a Halloween episode. Planning on releasing that October 28th. I'm wanting to do a Haunted Vegas episode. And there's lots and lots of Haunted Vegas stories to tell. Everything from the Flamingo being haunted by Bugsy Siegel's ghost to the story of the tragic hotel fire that happened at the former MGM Grand, which is now the Bally's. 87 people killed in that hotel fire. There's stories about their ghosts haunting Bally's and haunting the hallways. There's lots of cool Vegas ghost stories. So we're going to be rescheduling that and having a conversation with him next week for the Halloween episode. Also, very happy to be welcoming Sergio Portazan back to the show. You might remember Sergio from way back near the beginning. Sergio is the creator and the proprietor of the website vivalasvalue.com. And I've had a couple of requests for people excuse me, from people to do a low roller episode of the podcast. People want to talk about, the best ways to do a low roller trip. And I mean, I'm not by any means, I'm not a high roller at all. Not even close, but Sergio is like the king of the low rollers. So if you want to get a little, head start on what he might be talking about, go check out vivalasvalue.com. Check out his Degenerate Diaries. It's a really, really fun little part of that website. So I would recommend going to check that out. So we're going to be talking with him. I've got interviews tentatively scheduled with the folks from the National Atomic Testing Museum, which is one of those sort of, I like to think of it as a hidden gem, even though it's kind of hiding in plain sight. It's just off the strip, maybe half-hour walk off the strip on Flamingo Boulevard and or Flamingo Road. You just go, basically, if you go out the side door of Bally's and hang a right, you're gonna be able to find it. And it goes into, it's a museum that covers the history of nuclear testing and the nuclear program and the atomic program in the United States and around the world, but specifically in the state of Nevada. They used to do a ton of nuclear tests in the Nevada desert, so much so that back in the day, they would actually have mushroom cloud viewing parties on the roofs of some of the hotels on Fremont, where they would have guests standing watching these mushroom clouds. Radiation was not a thing anybody thought about back in the 50s. But anyway, so that's a thing. that I've set up. I've also set up an interview, or I'm in the process of setting up an interview. I just want to get the name. The Pinball Hall of Fame and Museum is something that I'm a big fan of and a big proponent of. And Tim Arnold, who is the owner of the Pinball Hall of Fame Museum, I managed to get a hold of him, and I'm going to set up an interview with him in the coming weeks. This is a place that's really kind of near and dear to me. I've taken a few friends there. Everybody always seems to have a really good time. It's a really great, cheap escape from the strip. I mean, you can go in there, get $10 worth of quarters and entertain yourself for like 2-3 hours. No problem. The games are the classic games from all the way from like the pinball games from the 30s right up to video games of the 90s. It terrifies me a little bit when I talk about the 90s being classic, but anyways, so that's an interview that I've got set up. And then one that I'm really excited about, and I brought a prop for this one. One of the cool sort of links in Las Vegas is the connection between the city of Las Vegas and the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. Everywhere you go in Las Vegas, there is Elvis stuff. There are Elvis impersonators up and down the strip. They want money, take pictures with them, pay them a tip, that kind of stuff. Of course, there's Big Elvis, who's probably one of the most famous Las Vegas Elvis impersonators. He performs at Harrah's on a pretty regular basis. Harrah's just opened recently a an Elvis Presley musical called Elvis Presley's Heartbreak Hotel. It's one of the only officially licensed Elvis Presley musical show. It was done by the same people that produced Rock of Ages. So it's supposed to be really, really cool. So I wanted to try to put together an episode about the connection between Elvis Presley and Las Vegas. And so I started just doing a little bit of Googling, and as fortune would have it, there is a book that was just released, and this is the book. I'm going to try to turn it so that there's no light flashing off of it. It's called Elvis in Vegas, and it's written by Richard Zoglin, who is a contributor to Time Magazine. And the book is called Elvis in Vegas: How the King Reinvented the Las Vegas Show. And this book, I'm really just powering through it because I'm going to be interviewing Richard on October the 16th. That interview is coming up very quick, so I have this much of the book still to read before I do that interview. Because I've always said, if I'm going to interview a person, I want to read the book about them or the book that they've done. I'm not one of these guys. I used to work with guys that would interview authors and they would read like half of the book. I'm not that guy. I can't do that. I don't want to do that to a person. Somebody took it, Richard took a lot of time to write this very thick book all about Elvis in Vegas. And so I should take the time to read it before I actually bring him on the podcast. So anyway, so that's something that I'm kind of excited about. Hoping to have that interview and that episode out before the end of the month, the end of October. I've actually put the request out to the folks at Heartbreak Hotel at Harrah's as well to see if I can get one of them on the show as well. So there you go. That's kind of the update of what's been going on. Otherwise, my own personal life, busy as usual. Let's see, spent a little bit of time in September back in visiting my dad in Winnipeg, spent a little bit of time with him, which was awesome and really fun to be able to do. It's been a long time since I've done that. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here for a second. And it kind of comes from this spending time with my dad. I have to say, if you have the opportunity, if your parents are still around, excuse me, if you have that opportunity to spend the time with them, please take that time to spend with them. I've been fortunate in that I've been able to go back to Winnipeg and spend a lot of time with my family. And I spent a lot of time with my mom before she passed away. And I've kind of made it a bit of a mission, so to speak, to spend as much time with my dad as I can. I don't want to say, we weren't estranged by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe we weren't quite as close as we could have been or as we should have been. And so spending the time and getting to spend that time with him there, back in September there, was really special. And, really made me realize the importance of doing that and ensuring that I spend, when I go back to Winnipeg and I'm visiting family, not just to go and spend like a day with him. So, which is what was, happening before, mainly because I got a big family and to try to cram as many people in as I can while I'm there. But it really made me realize the importance and how important it was to spend that time. So just passing that on to, to you guys, to the listeners, if your parents, you're lucky enough to still have your parents, still have your family, spend the time with them, make the effort to spend the time with them and, and just do that. That's all I can say is spend that time with them. So there's my little touchy-feely tangent of the episode. What do I have coming up in my life? Let's see. Vacation. Coming up the end of October, beginning of November. Last week of October, my wife and I are going to be making a trek to Phoenix. But we're going to be doing it via Las Vegas. This is going to be a fun little trek. I'm going to be able to kind of make a Vegas trip report out of this, sort of, kind of, not really. We're flying into Las Vegas from Calgary on the 26th of October, grabbing the rental car. We're going to be driving. We're going to go to the Grand Canyon. This is something that's always kind of been on our bucket list. We've always wanted to go there. Anytime I've gone to Las Vegas, I've thought, geez, I should do a trek to the Grand Canyon. It's really not that far. So we're flying in on October 26th, hop in the rental car, grabbing the rental car, going to be driving out to Williams, Arizona, spend the night in Williams, and then drive up to the Grand Canyon, do the little doopy-doopy-doopy-doo around there, see that stuff, come back down on the other side at Flagstaff, spend the night in Flagstaff, then down to Phoenix, and we're going to be in Phoenix for 3.5, almost 4 days, and then November 1st, driving back to Las Vegas. We're actually going to be staying in Henderson, staying with some friends this time around. That's going to be a little bit different of a trek. We're only going to be in Las Vegas for 2 nights, and it's going to be basically a lot of jam-packed stuff that we've got to do. The main purpose of that trip, though, is the Winnipeg Jets Vegas Golden Knights game on Saturday, November 2nd. So looking forward to catching more hockey action at T-Mobile. Hoping that I might be able to sneak in a trip at the end of November. Nice little solo trip, go for a few days, try and set up some interviews with some people. And then mid-December is my, I like to do a birthday trip every year. So looking forward to going there for December for a nice little birthday trip. So that's that. That is what I've got happening on in my own life and everything that's going on, starting to try to sort of lay the groundwork for Vegas trips in 2020. Hoping to make all that happen. And of course, continuing to plug ahead on the old podcast. All right. So I have wasted 18 minutes of your time rambling entirely by myself while you've watched me look at a camera and look at a monitor so that I can see what I look like. Again, as per usual, if you've got comments, questions, concerns, you want to give me feedback about any of the episodes that you've listened to, please, by all means, hit me up via social media. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook at Jeff Does Vegas. You can email me directly as well, jeff@walkernewmedia.com. If you've got suggestions for topics and show topics that you'd like me to cover, I have had a few of those emails come in, and there's been some really awesome topics that I'm looking forward to kind of digging into. So I invite you to submit those as well. And of course, too, don't forget, I also have a survey up on the website. Click on the audience survey link at jeffdoesvegas.com and tell me what you think of the podcast. All right, that wraps things up. Have an outstanding evening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for viewing. And don't forget, check out the website, jeffdoesvegas.com. Bye, everyone.